V's turn to ban.
Greetings and salutations, Dota fans. We actually get a game of Dota in today, and for a while there, it looked like that wasn't going to be the case. EG was continuing to have some connection issues, but it looks like we're all squared away, at least for the moment. They're going to be matching up with Na'Vi in their rescheduled game from yesterday. Unfortunately, some connection issues that we won't get into knocked EG out of Game 3, and we issued the forfeit, and Na'Vi, being the stand-up guys they are, offered to play the series out and conclude it properly here today. So, once again, want to commend them for a show of good sportsmanship and for being such stand-up guys. Joining me on the cast once again, and as always, will be Ben Merlini Wu. And Ben, yeah, it's I'm really happy we get to actually see the proper conclusion to this best of three instead of seeing it end in an FF.
Yeah, it is going to be a full redraft. And what server is this hosted on?
This will be on US East. We
on US East too.
Our rules state that in situations where it's any kind of a CIS team, Russian, Ukrainian, what have you, versus a United States-based team, or a North American-based team, I should say, it goes 1-1 coin flip, and the first two games went US East Lux, and then the coin flip came up US East. So. We're moving into the series now, and like you said, I mean, if I'm not mistaken, I halfway want to say it was backwards. That I can't remember right off. I want to say it might have been that EG beat Na'Vi on Lux and vice versa. So the server pings, we'll see how much of a factor those will play into. But yeah, I mean, that's something you can talk about while we wait for the draft to get going a little bit here. I mean, as a former professional competitive player. When you're talking about pings, like, is that going to affect the way Na'Vi drafts? Are they going to pick something, since they are going to be playing on US East, that's going to be a little bit easier to execute? And if so, what's the thought process that goes into that?
If you're playing on Luxembourg, I think it's more of a bigger issue. Like, you don't want to play like really, really ping-dependent heroes. Maybe someone like Puck, you can't phase shift something in time that can cost you a fight, and you go for maybe slightly easier heroes like Lifestealer or something like that. And you pop your BKBs a little bit earlier. But now with all the servers being really, really good, and most of these teams just playing from US West to US East, or in this situation, US West to US East and Europe or CIS to US East, it's not actually that bad. I played on the Europe servers a fair amount when I was in Chicago, which is not quite US East, and it was perfectly okay. I had like maybe a little over 100 ping, and I mean, it's a very, very small difference. But back in the day, we didn't have nice servers, and we had to deal with the Warcraft 3 Battle.net. This was like before List Checker, before all the ping reducing programs, and that's like way worse. Like, even just living close to USE servers and playing on USEs, that was like way worse than what it is now playing from like US West to US East. It was just much more delays. So all in all, the server issues are a slight problem if you're like US West and have to play Europe, or if you're like a European and you have to play US West, but that's usually not the case. I think actually the Americans get the short end of the stick, because you never, ever, ever, ever play a server on US West unless it's two American teams.
Right. So we can see EG is going to snag up JO's chin once again. We've seen JO in action on that hero quite a bit since shifting to the 4 to make room at the top in the 1 position for Fear. And really, Fear overtaking the carry position once again has been a pretty big catalyst, a pretty big spark plug for EG. They were really struggling to find any kind of rhythm and identity in the matches leading up until the last few days. But after Fear went back to the carry position, they really have looked like a different team and have seemed to find much more success. Fogged also going to get a hero on which he's very comfortable and very effective, the Crystal Maiden. Na'Vi's going to go ahead and snag up Lich and Clock. Now, what's interesting about that, I mean, when you see a Clock and a Lich come out like that, it has been Funnick that for the most part has been playing Lich for Na'Vi, but that might end up being a puppy Lich, which we saw yesterday, and Funnick on the Clock this time around.
Which Na'Vi are we going to see today? Na'Vi just played VP prior to this match in a best of 1, and they actually ended up losing. They drafted a Dendi Mag, and Dendi, I mean, they fell behind pretty far, pretty early, and Na'Vi has just been extremely, extremely inconsistent. I say since the We Play tournament, or maybe even since they lost to Liquid 2-0, but it's just the it's just they've just been very, very inconsistent, very difficult to predict, and they don't necessarily pick the strongest heroes in the situation. But again, Navi seems to really show their A game for playoffs. Unfortunately, we're not in that playoff stage yet, and EG has just been on a tear lately, and they really surprised me yesterday with how well they played.
That's bad news. I don't know if you caught that just now, just this second. We've had 2 more disconnect from EG all at once, and that's not what you want to see. They actually were continuing to have some connection issues earlier, and really discouraging to see 2 already dropping out. We're going to hope that they can keep the draft going, and hopefully the issue is not going to be what it seems to be. But if it is, it's already been predetermined, by the way. We were actually just a minute or 2 away from forfeiting EG a second time because it seemed like they weren't going to be able to get 5 in stable. And it's been predetermined that if they're unable to get a game going today, both for the sake of Navi, who we know are awesome guys and would probably keep rescheduling over and over and over again if they could, but they're busy. The D2L staff, we're very busy, and EG will be taking a full forfeit regardless of anything if they're unable to keep 5 in the game. And right now that's beginning to look like that might be what happens. So we're going to hope that we can still get this game played, but if not, and I'll tell you what the shame of it is. This is such an important series for both teams. With Dignitas dropping out and EG being on the wrong side of 500, not only does EG get that free win against the Dignitas, but every other team in the field does, which is actually bad for the teams trying to play from behind because that's one less opportunity where an upset might open the door for them. So EG actually loses out in that situation, while a team like Navi, who's right on the 500 cusp, coming in with a Midland record, that actually helps them a lot to secure a playoff spot. So this is pretty much a must-win for EG, and if they end up having to take a def win or a forfeit, I should say, it's not going to bode well for their chances to make it to the postseason.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, hopefully EG can make it through this draft. We see 3 players disconnect, unfortunately.
There's one from Navi. Are we going to have a remake? Perhaps. I don't know. We're going to wait it out, and obviously if the timer runs out with no one picked, I'm going to guess that we're just going to have to figure something out in the background. I do want to thank everyone, especially our ticket holders and our stream viewers and such, for your continued patience with this situation. Obviously, it's not optimal for anyone, most especially us, and, of course, Navi.
5 seconds
And, yep, there's 4 now gone from EG. So I'm going to assume we're going to be jumping back into the lobby, and we're going to see what solution may or may not exist. So if you guys will stick with us, we'll be back. I'll be bringing you an announcement one way or the other very, very soon. This is the HyperX D2L, Game 3 of EG versus Navi. We'll try to get that going for you. Just stick with us. We'll be right back. All right, guys, pretty much what we all hoped wouldn't happen. EG has had to forfeit Game 3 to Navi. A very unfortunate situation for obvious reasons, but in the end, this is just kind of part of the rules. I mean, Navi was extremely gracious and extremely awesome to be willing to try to reschedule this Game 3 versus EG. But at this point, 24 hours later, EG still unable to resolve their issues. Everyone involved, we're just ready to move on. EG obviously has remaining matches in their schedule here in the D2L, and if they're going to have any chance of being able to play those as well as any other matches in any other tournaments, they have to focus on their connection issues right now. Navi, obviously, a very busy team as well, and us, the D2L staff, we do the D2L, we do a lot more as well, so we can't continue to press and push this off, and certainly would never ask Navi to do it a second time. So Navi will take the win. They will notch a 2-1 victory over Evil Geniuses. Their record will improve to 3-3 at this point. Actually, no, they've got one more match against Virtus Pro coming up tomorrow. I just wanted to make sure on that one. So they're sitting in pretty good shape right now. Evil Geniuses, unfortunately, taking that loss. They will end up falling to 2-4, if I'm not mistaken. But we'll find out. Yeah, EG with one more match as well. So I guess they still potentially have a chance to play their way in, but it's going to be very, very close. A lot of that's going to come down to how Virtus Pro performs tomorrow, as they're currently sitting at 3 wins with 6 points. So they haven't lost pretty either. But anyway, we'll do all the theory crafting another time. Want to thank you guys once again for being a part of the broadcast and for showing the patience and understanding that we appreciate so very much. But just to recap, Navi will take a 2-1 win over Evil Geniuses following Evil Geniuses' continued DDoS issues and connection instability. So they'll be working on that. Their next appearance will be against Fnatic coming up this Sunday, which will be, in fact, be our very last broadcast of D2L East. Na'Vi will be back in action tomorrow, taking on Virtus.pro, who we just heard from Ben previously. VP actually got the best of Na'Vi in a best of one already today, so they'll be looking for a little payback there. On Friday, we'll have Fnatic versus Team Liquid and Team Liquid versus Mouse following that up on Saturday. So you can find all of your schedule info and such at d2l.gg. And hope to see you guys back tomorrow. Again, we'll be kicking off at 9 a.m. Pacific Standard Time tomorrow morning. And that'll be 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 p.m. Central European Time. Until then, enjoy your morning, evening, or afternoon, and enjoy some Dota.